It was midnight when the heavy knock came. John Carter was half asleep, his small cabin quiet, except for the sound of rain on the metal roof. He opened the door, and his life changed forever. Standing there was a tall, silver-skinned man. His eyes glowed faint blue in the dark. He wore a black coat dripping with rain. Behind him stood a woman, small, fragile, and shaking in the cold. Her face was partly hidden under a hood, but John could see she was not human. Her eyes were larger, brighter, and her skin shimmered faintly in the lantern light. The alien man looked at John with no warmth. "This is your problem now," he said in a deep voice. Before John could answer, the man turned and walked away into the night. No goodbye, no explanation. The woman just stood there, her hands clutching a small metal box. She did not move until John stepped aside and told her to come in. Inside, the cabin was small but warm. John gave her a blanket and set the kettle on the stove. For a long time, she didn't speak. When she finally did, her voice was soft and careful. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I was married." Until tonight, her eyes shifted to the door as if afraid the man might return. John didn't know what to say. He lived alone, deep in the human colony on Vega 4. Most people here didn't trust aliens. There had been too many wars, too much history. Humans called it the dirty heritage, the old blood between species that should never mix. Now here was a woman who carried that heritage in her very skin. Lyra placed the small metal box on the table. It hissed softly, then opened. Inside was a glowing crystal, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is why he left me," she whispered. John leaned closer, feeling a strange warmth from the crystal. "What is it?" he asked. Her lips trembled. "Something your people would kill for, and his people would kill to hide outside the wind." Howled harder. The rain turned to icy needles against the cabin walls. John felt a tightness in his chest. Whatever this crystal was, it had already brought danger to his doorstep. He wanted to tell her to leave, but there was something in her, ice fear mixed with hope, that stopped him. That night, John gave her the bed and took the old chair by the stove. He told himself it was just for one night, but as he watched her fall asleep, he noticed the crystal's light faintly glowing from inside her blanket. It pulsed in time with her breathing, and in that moment, he knew this was no ordinary stranger, somewhere far away. Deep in the dark of space, a signal was sent. A small red light blinked on the dashboard of an unknown ship. An alien voice said, "We found her," and the ship turned toward Vega 4. John didn't know it yet, but the knock on his door had started a chain of events that would pull him into a war older than both their worlds. By morning, he would no longer be just a man living alone. He would be the only one standing between Lyra and the ones who wanted her gone forever. The rain finally stopped. The cabin was quiet again. John leaned back in the chair, outside, under the pale light of Vega 4's twin moons. A shadow moved across the field. It was watching the cabin, waiting. John woke to the sound of something scraping against the outer wall. For a moment he thought it was the wind, but then it came again, a slow, deliberate drag. His hand reached for the old plasma rifle leaning by the chair. The cabin was dark except for the soft orange glow of the stove. Lyra was still asleep. The blanket pulled over her head. The faint glow of the crystal pulsed beneath the fabric. John stood slowly, careful not to make noise. He moved to the window and peered out at first. He saw nothing but the wet grass shining under the twin moons. Then he noticed a shape crouching near the far corner of the cabin. It was low to the ground, its limbs too long. When the shadow moved, it was silent, like it was part of the darkness itself. John's heart pounded. He had seen many strange creatures on Vega 4, but this one felt wrong. It wasn't hunting for food, it was watching. He tightened his grip on the rifle, but before he could open the door, the shadow slid away into the trees. Vanishing as if it had never been there, he stood at the door. For a long moment, the forest was still. The only sound was the distant drip of water from the roof. Finally, he locked the door again and turned back toward Lyra. She was awake now, sitting up. Her wide eyes searched his face. "You saw it, too, didn't you?" she whispered. John frowned. "You know what it is?" She nodded slowly. "It's called a stalker. It's not alive in the way you think. It's sent like a hunter by those who want the crystal back. Her voice trembled once it finds. It never stops. John sat down on the edge of the bed. He hated the way her words made the cabin feel smaller. What's in that crystal, Lyra? He asked again. She hesitated, then unwrapped it from the blanket. The light was brighter now, casting strange shadows on the walls. It's a seed, she said softly, not a plant. It grows worlds. If planted in the right place, it can change an entire planet. Make it green, alive. John stared at her. That's impossible, he muttered. She shook her head. It's not. My people kept it hidden for centuries. But his people, my husband's people, wanted to destroy it. They believed some worlds should stay dead. No second chances. A sudden thud hit the roof. Dust fell from the ceiling. John grabbed his rifle and aimed at the door. Lyra clutched the crystal tighter. The sound came against something crawling slowly across the metal roof. John signaled her to stay still. He stepped toward the window and looked up. A pale, clawed hand slid over the edge of the roof, its fingers too thin, its skin stretched like wet cloth. John fired. The blast lit up the yard. The creature screamed, not like an animal, but like something that had once been human. It fell from the roof and vanished into the grass. John kicked the door open and stepped outside, but the yard was empty. Only the wet grass swaying in the cold wind. When he returned inside, Lyra was shaking. That was just one, she said quietly. There will be more. They can smell the seed. We have to leave before night falls again. John wasn't the kind of man who ran from trouble. But this wasn't just trouble. This was a war he didn't understand. And yet he couldn't leave her alone. Something deep in his chest told him that if she died, something important would be lost, not just for her, but for everyone. He looked around the small cabin. It had been his home for years, but now it felt like a trap. He grabbed a pack, filled it with food, water, and ammunition. Lyra wrapped the crystal in layers of cloth, hiding its glow as she slipped it into her bag. Her eyes met his. You don't have to help me, she whispered. John tightened the strap on his rifle. Yeah, I do, he said simply. Outside, the moons were sinking. The forest lay ahead. Dark and deep. Somewhere in that darkness, the stalker was waiting. And somewhere beyond that, others were coming, the kind who didn't knock before they killed. As they stepped off the porch, John felt the strange weight of the night pressing in. Lyra walked close behind him. The crystal's hidden warmth seemed to pulse through the air. And in the distance, a second shadow moved through the trees, keeping pace with them, silent as breath. The forest of Vega 4 was not like any forest on Earth. Trees were tall but twisted, their branches growing in strange shapes. The leaves glowed faint green in the dark, and when the wind passed, they made a sound like quiet whispers. John had hunted here many times, but tonight, every shadow felt alive. Lyra stayed close. She walked lightly, barely making a sound. Her hood was pulled low, hiding her shimmering skin. The bag with the crystal hung at her side every few minutes. She would glance behind them. John knew she was listening for the stalker. Hours passed as they moved deeper. The moonlight faded under the thick canopy. John used a small lantern, but the glow felt dangerous. Too much light could give away their position. Too little, and they could walk straight into danger. Suddenly, Lyra stopped. She raised her hand in warning. John froze. He heard it too, a faint, wet clicking sound. It was coming from the left. Somewhere among the trees, the sound moved, circling them slowly. John gripped his rifle, eyes scanning the shadows. Then something flashed between the tree's pale skin, too fast to focus. John swung his rifle toward it. But it was gone. Lyra whispered, "It's playing with us. It wants us to panic." John's jaw tightened. Then we don't give it what it wants. They kept moving, but the clicking sound followed. Sometimes it was close, sometimes far. Every so often, John caught a glimpse of long, thin fingers wrapping around a tree trunk. The creature never stepped into full view. It was waiting for the right moment. The ground began to slope downward. They reached a narrow gorge with a stream of dark water. A fallen log made a natural bridge. John crossed first, keeping his rifle ready. Lyra followed carefully, her steps light. Halfway across, she froze. Her eyes widened, not in fear of falling, but in recognition of something. John. "Don't move," she whispered. He glanced down, below the log, under the black water. He saw pale shapes moving. Long, thin arms reached upward, but never broke the surface. Dozens of glowing eyes blinked just beneath the waterline. Lyra's voice was tight. "Water stalkers. If we make noise, they'll swarm." John forced himself to move slowly. Step by step, the log creaked under his weight. A splash echoed in the distance. Every head beneath the water turned toward the sound. John felt his skin crawl. They reached the other side. Only when they were 10 steps into the trees did Lyra exhale. The clicking sound returned, louder now. One stalker had followed them across. It was no longer hiding. John caught sight of it clearly this time. Its body was tall and thin. Its head too small for its frame. Its mouth opened sideways, showing rows of needle-like teeth. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It just stared. Tilting its head slowly, John raised his rifle, but before he could fire, Lyra grabbed his arm. "No," she whispered. "If you shoot, the others will come. We run now." They sprinted deeper into the forest. Branches tore at John's jacket. Roots twisted under his boots. The stalker's footsteps were almost silent, but it was fast, too fast. Every time John glanced back, it was closer, its long fingers stretching toward Lyra's bag, up ahead. The trees opened into a clearing. In the center stood a large stone arch. It looked ancient, covered in glowing markings. Lyra's eyes widened in recognition. "This is it." "A way out," she said, breathless. She ran straight toward it. John followed. Though he didn't understand, the stalker lunged as they reached the arch. John swung his rifle like a club, smashing it across the creature's face. It staggered, but didn't fall. Lyra pulled the crystal from her bag and held it toward the markings on the stone. The arch began to hum. A soft light spread across its surface. The air inside the arch shimmered like heat over desert sand. The stalker screeched, the sound sharp enough to make John's ears ring. From the trees around the clearing, more shapes emerged, 5, maybe 6, all moving in that same slow, deliberate way. The first one recovered and charged again. John fired. The blast threw it back, but the others didn't stop. Through the arch, Lyra shouted. John didn't think. He grabbed her arm and ran. The moment they stepped into the light, the forest vanished. The cold air was replaced by warm wind. The sound of clicking was gone. They stood in a wide desert under a sky filled with strange stars. The arch was still behind them, but its light was fading. John turned back and saw the stalkers reaching for the opening. But before they could step through, the light died completely. The arch became nothing more than stone. John lowered his rifle, breathing hard. He looked at Lyra. "Where are we?" he asked. Lyra gazed up at the alien sky. "Somewhere they can't follow yet," she said quietly, but the way her eyes narrowed told him this new place had dangers of its own. The air was dry. The wind carried fine red dust that stuck to John's skin. The desert stretched in all directions, broken only by jagged black rocks. Above the sky was a deep violet, dotted with 3 suns, one large, 2 small. The heat pressed against them like a heavy hand. John scanned the horizon. No movement, no sound. Even the wind seemed afraid to make too much noise. He turned to Lyra. "Where exactly have you brought us?" he asked. She adjusted the bag with the crystal. "This is Sarin," she said. "An abandoned world. It was once home to my ancestors, before the silence." John frowned. The silence. Lyra's gaze shifted to the distance. "They say the people here all vanished in one night. No one knows why, but some believe the land remembers." They started walking. The desert floor crunched under their boots. After an hour, John noticed something strange. The sound of their footsteps didn't echo. It was as if the sand swallowed every noise. No wind, no birds, no insects. Only the quiet beat of their hearts. Then, far ahead, something broke the horizon. A cluster of tall spires, black and twisted. As they drew closer, John saw they were Not rock. They were buildings, ruins of an old city. Its towers leaned at odd angles. Windows were dark holes staring at the empty streets. They entered the city. The silence here felt heavier. Even their breathing seemed muted. John's skin prickled. Lyra's steps slowed. She touched the walls as if expecting them to speak. In the center of the city was a dry fountain. Its basin was carved with swirling patterns like the ones on the arch. Lyra knelt beside it, brushing away dust. "This is where the last seed was kept," she murmured. John glanced around, uneasy. "Then, we shouldn't be standing here like a welcome sign," he said. A faint movement caught his eye. In the shadows between two towers, something tall was watching them. Its body shimmered, blending with the walls. When it stepped forward, John realized it wasn't a stalker. Its form was human-shaped, but translucent. Its eyes glowed pale gold. Lyra froze. She whispered one word, "Echo." The figure tilted its head. Its mouth moved, but no sound came. Then, a strange vibration passed through the air. John felt it in his bones more than he heard it. It wasn't speaking, it was sending thoughts. "Why are you here, Keeper?" Lyra straightened. "I carry the last seed," she said aloud. The echo's head turned toward John and the human. Lyra hesitated. "He protects me." The echo stepped closer. Its body flickered like heat on stone. "The silence comes for all who walk these streets," it warned. "Leave before you join the ones who do not speak." John didn't need more convincing. Grabbed Lyra's arm, but she didn't move. "This place. It can help us," she said. The echo's eyes brightened. "Help has a price." Before John could ask what that meant, the ground trembled. From the shadowed streets came a low, rolling hum. Shapes emerged, dozens of them. They were like statues come to life, tall, armored, their faces hidden behind smooth stone masks. Their steps made no sound. The echo's voice filled John's mind again. The silent guard, once protectors, now bound to destroy all who remain. The guard moved in perfect unison. John raised his rifle. "Tell me they can be killed," he said. Lyra's eyes stayed on the crystal in her bag. "They can't be killed," she said quietly. "Only avoided." The echo lifted a hand. The guard froze mid-step. "I will hold them," it said, "but you must leave through the Gate of Dunes." Before the sun set, John didn't argue. They ran, weaving through narrow streets. The ruins seemed to twist and change. Doorways led to different alleys. Walls appeared. Where there had been open space, it felt like the city was alive, trying to keep them inside, behind them. The hum of the silent guard grew louder. The echo's power was fading. Lyra pulled John toward a wide archway at the edge of the city. Beyond it, the desert opened again, far away. A line of golden sand dunes shimmered under the suns. They didn't stop running until the city was a black shadow on the horizon. John bent over, catching his breath. Lyra stood still, staring back at the ruins. "They let us go," she said softly. John wiped the sweat from his face. "No," he said, "they let you go. I'm starting to think this place knows exactly who you are." She didn't answer, but in her eyes, he saw something she wasn't ready to tell him. And far behind them, among the ruins, the echo watched from a high tower, its golden eyes dimming as the first long shadows of sunset reached across the sand. The air was dry. The wind carried fine red dust that stuck to John's skin. The desert stretched in all directions, broken only by jagged black rocks. Above, the sky was a deep violet, dotted with 3 suns, one large, 2 small. The heat pressed against them like a heavy hand. John scanned the horizon. No movement, no sound. Even the wind seemed afraid to make too much noise. "Where exactly have you brought us?" he asked. She adjusted the bag with the crystal. "This is Sorin," she said. "It's an abandoned world. It was once home to my ancestors." Before the silence, John frowned. "The silence?" Lyra's gaze shifted to the distance. "They say, the people here all vanished in one night. No one knows why, but some believe the land remembers." They started walking. The desert floor crunched under their boots. After an hour, John noticed something strange. The sound of their footsteps. didn't echo. It was as if the sand swallowed every noise. No wind, no birds, no insects. Only the quiet beat of their hearts. Then far ahead something broke the horizon. A cluster of tall spires, black and twisted. As they drew closer, John saw they were. Not rock, they were buildings, ruins of an old city. Its towers leaned at odd angles. Windows were dark holes staring at the empty streets. They entered the city. The silence here felt heavier. Even their breathing seemed muted. John's skin prickled. Lyra's steps slowed. She touched the walls as if expecting them to speak. In the center of the city was a dry fountain. Its basin was carved with swirling patterns like the ones on the arch. Lyra knelt beside it, brushing away dust. "This is where the last seed was kept," she murmured. John glanced around, uneasy. "Then we shouldn't be standing here like a welcome sign," he said. A faint movement caught his eye. In the shadows between two towers, something tall was watching them. Its body shimmered, blending with the walls. When it stepped forward, John realized it wasn't a stalker. Its form was human-shaped, but translucent. Its eyes glowed pale gold. Lyra froze. She whispered one word, "Echo." The figure tilted its head. Its mouth moved, but no sound came. Then, a strange vibration passed through the air. John felt it in his bones more than he heard it. It wasn't speaking, it was sending thoughts. "Why are you here, Keeper?" Lyra straightened. "I carry the last seed," she said aloud. The echo's head turned toward John and the human. Lyra hesitated. "He protects me." The echo stepped closer. Its body flickered like heat on stone. "The silence comes for all who walk these streets," it warned. "Leave before you join the ones who do not speak." John didn't need more convincing. He grabbed Lyra's arm, but she didn't move. "This place. It can help us," she said. The echo's eyes brightened. "Help has a price." Before John could ask what that meant, the ground trembled. From the shadowed streets came a low, rolling hum. Shapes emerged, dozens of them. They were like statues come to life, tall, armored. Their faces hidden behind smooth stone masks. Their steps made no sound. The echo's voice filled John's mind again. The silent guard, once protectors, now bound to destroy all who remain. The guard moved in perfect unison. John raised his rifle. "Tell me they can be killed," he said. Lyra's eyes stayed on the crystal in her bag. "They can't be killed," she said quietly, "only avoided." The echo lifted a hand. The guard froze mid-step. "I will hold them," it said, "but you must leave through the gate of dunes." Before the sun set, John didn't argue. They ran, weaving through narrow streets. The ruins seemed to twist and change. Doorways led to different alleys. Walls appeared. Where there had been open space, it felt like the city was alive, trying to keep them inside, behind them. The hum of the silent guard grew louder. The echo's power was fading. Lyra pulled John toward a wide archway at the edge of the city. Beyond it, the desert opened again. Far away, a line of golden sand dunes shimmered under the suns. They didn't stop running until the city was a black shadow on the horizon. No, John bent over, catching his breath. Lyra stood still, staring back at the ruins. "They let us go," she said softly. John wiped the sweat from his face. "No," he said. "They let you go. I'm starting to think this place knows exactly who you are." She didn't answer, but in her eyes, he saw something she wasn't ready to tell him, and far behind them, among the ruins, the echo watched from a high tower. Its golden eyes dimming as the first long shadows of sunset reached across the sand. The last sun slipped below the horizon. Cold swept over the dunes like a living thing. The gold of the sand turned black under the starlight. The wind rose, carrying sharp grains that stung John's face. Lyra pulled her hood tight, her eyes darted toward the sound that haunted the air. The clicking was closer now, slower, more deliberate, as if whatever followed them enjoyed the chase. John checked his rifle. The power gauge was halfway, not enough for a long fight. He glanced. Back in the darkness, he saw glints, small, cold reflections like shards of broken glass. There were dozens of them. The stalkers were watching from the dunes, their eyes catching the faint light of the twin moons. They don't usually hunt in full dark, Lyra said quietly. Her breath showed in the cold air. John's jaw tightened. What's different tonight? She hesitated. They know. The seed is almost awake. A sudden screech split the night. The stalkers began to move, not in the usual loping run, but in a strange, jerking motion. They were faster. Their bodies bent backward at impossible angles. Their claws sank deep into the sand for grip. John felt his stomach twist. These aren't the same ones we've been running from. Lyra's voice was tight, their glasses faster, stronger. They don't just kill, they take the memories of the ones they touch. The first glass eye lunged from the ridge above. John fired. The blast tore it apart in a spray of black fluid. But the others didn't even slow. They came in waves, crawling and leaping. The clicking grew into a deafening chorus. Move. John shouted. They ran, sliding down a steep dune. Sand filled John's boots. The cold air cut into his lungs. Lyra stumbled but kept going. Her bag with the crystal swung wildly against her side. In the distance, a faint red glow pulsed against the sky. John pointed. Their cover. Maybe. Lyra nodded. They made for the light. The glass eyes followed. Some moved under the sand, their tracks shifting like snakes beneath the surface. The red glow grew brighter until John saw its source. A wide crack in the ground. Heat poured from it. Below, a river of molten rock flowed. The light made the dunes around them shimmer, but it also made them visible to anything still hunting. John spotted a narrow ledge along the crack. If they could get to it, they might use the heat to keep the creatures back. They slid down the slope toward the ledge, but before they could reach it, a glass eye erupted from the sand directly in front of them. Its claws caught John's jacket, tearing it open. The cold shock of its touch hit him like ice in his skull. For a split second, flashes of his own memories, Earth, the colony. The cabin flickered before his eyes. He shoved it back and fired point blank. Lyra grabbed his arm. They're trying to erase you, she said. Once they take enough, you'll forget who you are forever. They scrambled onto the ledge. The heat from the molten river made the air shimmer. The glass eyes stopped at the edge of the slope. Their bodies swayed, their heads tilting in unison. One hissed, its jaw opening wider than seemed possible, but they didn't come closer. John realized the heat kept them back for a few minutes. There was only the sound of the molten flow. Then Lyra spoke. They'll wait until we move. Can't stay here. John scanned the far side of the crack. A narrow stone bridge connected the ledge to another ridge. If they could cross, they might lose the glasses in the rock formations beyond. But when they reached the bridge, John froze. Standing at the other end was a figure tall. Wearing a long black coat, its silver skin caught the red light. Its eyes glowed faint blue. Lyra's breath caught. My husband, she whispered. The silver-skinned man stepped forward. His voice was calm, almost gentle. You've run long. Enough, Lyra. His eyes shifted to John. And you human have something that doesn't belong to you? John kept his rifle up. I'm not giving it to you. The man smiled faintly. You don't understand. The seed is not waking. It's breaking, and when it does, every living thing within 100 miles will be rewritten. Lyra shook her head. You're lying. But her hand tightened on the bag. The man stepped closer. The glass eyes, still waiting on the far slope, began to click faster. It was as if they sensed the tension. One wrong move, and the night would erupt into chaos. John felt sweat trickle down his back, despite the cold. He had one shot literally before the rifle's power cell ran dry. Lyra's husband stopped only a few paces away. His voice dropped to a whisper, Give it to me, and I'll call them off. The clicking grew louder. The glass eyes began to shift forward. John's finger tightened on the trigger. The choice was seconds away, and the desert night held its breath. The heat from the molten river shimmered between them. John stood on the narrow stone bridge, rifle aimed. Lyra's husband stood calm. His glowing blue eyes locked on the bag at Lyra's side. Behind them, the glass eyes clicked in a slow, steady rhythm. The sound rolled across the dunes like the ticking of a clock. Time was running out, John, Lyra whispered. Her voice shook. He won't stop. Even if we give it to him, he'll find another reason to hunt us. Her husband's eyes didn't leave John. You think I want to kill? You. Know what I want is to save you. That seed will rewrite everything in its reach. You'll wake up and not even know your own name." John's grip on the rifle tightened. "If you cared about saving her, you wouldn't have left her at my door." The man's calm expression cracked for the first time. His jaw tightened. She made her choice. She kept it when she could have destroyed it. Now it's too late to stop it. Lyra stepped forward. Her eyes were bright in the red light. "I kept it because life is worth more than fear." She pulled the crystal from the bag. It was glowing so brightly now that the red of the molten river faded in comparison. A low hum filled the air. The glass eyes froze, their heads turning toward the light in unison. Her husband reached for it. John stepped between them. "Touch her, and I put you in that lava." He growled. The man smiled faintly. "You'll be too slow." And then the world exploded into motion. The glass eyes surged forward. Spilling over the slope toward the bridge, their claws scraped stone. Their clicking became a frenzy. Lyra's husband moved with inhuman speed. John fired. The blast hit the man square in the chest. He staggered, but didn't fall. The first glass eye leaped onto the bridge. John swung his rifle like a club, smashing it into the river of molten rock. The creature shrieked as it vanished in a hiss of steam. But more were already climbing up. The bridge shook under their weight. Lyra held the seed high. Its hum became a deep vibration that made John's teeth ache. The glass eyes hesitated. Some swayed, their heads jerking as if confused. Her husband shouted, "Lyra, stop if it fully wakes. It will take you too." She looked at John. Her voice was calm now. "If it's the only way to stop them." "I'm ready." John's heart pounded. "Don't you dare. There's another way." But he didn't know what that way was. The bridge was filling with pale bodies, claws flashing in the molten light. One slashed across his arm, pain shooting up to his shoulder. He fired point blank, the blast throwing the creature into the abyss. Lyra's husband lunged for the crystal. John slammed into him. They both hit the stone hard. Sliding dangerously close to the edge, the heat scorched John's skin. With a roar, the man threw John back and grabbed Lyra's wrist. The glow from the seed spilled over his silver skin. His eyes widened, not in triumph, but in fear. The glasses stopped moving. Every one of them turned its head toward the seed. Their clicking ceased. Replaced by a single low tone, like a voice holding one long note, the ground trembled. Sand poured into the molten crack below as if the whole desert was shifting. Lyra's gaze met John's. There was no hesitation in her eyes now. She shoved her husband back and pressed the crystal to the stone bridge. The hum became a deep, pulsing heartbeat. The stone under their feet began to glow with the same light. Cracks of white energy spread outward like lightning. The glasses screamed. Not in anger, but in terror. Their bodies convulsed. Some fell into the molten river, others collapsed where they stood. The light spread beyond the bridge, across the dunes. Plants burst from the sand green. Living vines and flowers climbing over dead stone, the air filled with the scent of life. John shielded his eyes as the light grew too bright. When it faded, the glass eyes were gone, only drifting. Ash remained where they had stood. The molten river was cooling. The desert was no longer silent in the distance. The sound of wind through new leaves carried softly. Lyra was on her knees. The crystal lay dull and cracked beside her. Her husband stood frozen a few steps away. His silver skin was marked with faint green patterns, living vines that seemed to grow across him. His face was pale with shock. John knelt beside Lyra. "Are you hurt?" She smiled faintly. "I'm still me," she whispered. Her eyes moved to the horizon. "But I'm not the same." Her husband took a slow step back. "You've doomed us all," he said quietly. Then he turned and walked into the dunes until his shape was lost in the new greenery. John helped Lyra to her feet. They looked out at the transformed land. Vegafor's twin moons shone above. The once dead dunes were now alive. John took a deep breath. The air felt different, lighter, warmer. For the first time in days, there was no sound of clicking in the dark. Lyra glanced at him, so she said softly, "Where do we go now?" John smiled faintly. "Anywhere we want, as long as there's no one knocking at my door in the middle of the night." They began walking toward the horizon. and behind them, the first dawn in centuries touched the desert of